Record. All right. Welcome everybody to Not Just This with Don Garland, Hamish Stansfield, and me. And so if you want to participate, just put your hand up virtually and call on you and you can ask your question. And if you're on YouTube, just type your question in the chat and I'll read it as a part of the show today. If this is a show, I don't know. What is it? A podcast, some kind of a broadcast, I don't know. But we're here to talk about non-duality. We're here to talk about integration, Kundalini, all kinds of interesting subjects. So that's basically it. Just keep yourself muted until I call on you. And just know that this is live on YouTube. So if you ask a question, you're giving consent to be on YouTube. And this is also for entertainment purposes only. We're not really giving advice or substitute. What's that? No, mute that person. There we go. Anyway. So with that, we're all just going to give a brief introduction to maybe what we think this meeting is about. And I'll start with Hamish, please.
Sure. Well, I'm no expert on non-duality, really, as some of you may already know. Sometimes I feel like it's really just about sliding that word apparently, and tomorrow I'm going to go shopping. Apparently, yes. Yesterday I went, to the cinema. Apparently. So I don't know. But what I do know is the whole thing seems to be much more energetic than it is about the words, really. So if you find yourself in a meeting like this, either on Zoom or live, and listening to this kind of message, chances are, not necessarily, but chances are, if you haven't run a mile, then there's something in it that you're responding to. And I think that is just the exhaustion of the sense of need, the exhaustion of the seeking energy, which it does seem to exhaust itself. For some people, awakening comes through exhaustion. They just can't do it anymore. They tried everything, they gave it all they had, and something just kind of gives in or gives way. That's kind of what happened here. It wasn't an exhaustion of the body. I was doing yoga, I was feeling fit, I was actually enjoying my life when this happened, but that seeking energy did come to a stop, or an apparent stop. I doubt myself sometimes and wonder if it's still subtly going on, because cognitively I don't really understand non-duality. But so anyway, it's all energetic, and when I think you just end up relaxing, you listen to this message, and either there's anxiety or a contraction or stress, and sometimes there can be a deep sense of peace or just some kind of relief that is hard for the mind to comprehend. And if that's the case, you may also have very strange phenomena happening as the body relaxes. Kundalini, which is sexual energy, creative energy, the creative force of the universe itself, which is stored at the base of the spine, can start to spill up and start readjusting the body as that loosening starts to happen. And it can come up, depending on the amount of trauma you have, it can come up and it will tackle knots and that kind of thing. And if it comes up with great force, like it's doing here, it has the potential to, I think, to just get rid of all the conditioning and just punch its way up and just kind of clear the whole system. And that seems to be what's going on here, as far as I can tell. So yeah, any questions you have, I'm probably better at answering Kundalini related questions, but feel free to ask whatever you want.
All right. Thank you very much. And Don Garland, please.
Okay, so the easiest part to talk about in terms of non-dual, the seeing of this, is initially, the complete disappearance of the self, cessation of time, and the deep absorption and an unconditional love. It's incredibly profound, and life as you know it has ended. It really has ended. So it's just in that sense, during that period, that honeymoon period, it really is a case of no suffering. It's like nothing can touch you, and so it's a chance to almost to start again, but nothing starts during that period, because it's just, you'll want to spend a lot of time just being absorbed in what is and seeing things for the first time, which is astonishing, really, because you don't realize that you haven't been using your senses to the full capacity, and suddenly you are. So you're just very, very much where you are. You're very much in the moment, and you're very absorbed at looking at things, particularly in nature, because I think we all get a sense of something, well, most of us in nature. So yeah, the stillness can be seen and everything as well. So it's visually, everything's enhanced, and all drama ceases. All, thought, the mind can completely explodes in this, so that there's no mind. Certainly the mind can't touch you in this. But as time goes on, life continues, and things may come up, like more psychological stuff could come up later on, and it becomes a new normal. So in a sense, things can touch you, things, like, in a way, I mean, there is a before and after with this, I would say, for most people, unless this has crept up on you very, very slowly. But even then, there will be that. But life continues normal. There's a lot of spiritual bypass, so things may need to be looked at, and so yeah, it's not an end to suffering. I mean, so anything you say about this can be contradicted by things that happen as well. So life is very, very ordinary too. In my case, the sense of location hasn't returned, so there's that sense. But I see it as very much the individual life. There's the relative within the absolute, in a sense. So there's still time in the timeless. There's still your life, your desires, which may re-emerge, and certainly there's an opportunity to actualize certain things maybe that you couldn't before. That I think that can be quite exciting. For some people, they might need a little bit of a push with that. They may need some help in moving forward, but it sort of clears away a lot of defenses, especially defenses against intimacy, defenses against life. But patterns can continue, because if they haven't been seen, they can continue. So I think that'll do. Just going to water.
All right, thank you. So anyway, thank you everybody for coming. And if you're on YouTube, you can type your question in the chat. And if you're here, you can put your hand up and ask your question. I'll just say a few things about non-duality. So I don't know too much about Kundalini, and I can only speak about my own experience, and even that sentence, would be frowned upon, talking about having an experience. And I guess it's one way to put it, because I have the fortune of having people ask me who don't know anything about non-duality, what it is I talk about. And so I find myself saying it that way, that, this experience changed the whole way that I experience life, that I view life, that I see things. Because before it was me seeking something outside of me. There was something outside, apart from me, that would fulfill me, that would make everything blissful and amazing. And this thing was always somewhere out there. And then this experience just revealed, they say the veil was lifted. There used to be this veil that made me feel separate from everything else. And like I was an independent entity in a sea of independent entities, and we're all just fighting our way through this mystery. And then I just saw that it was all the mystery, that this is the mystery. The mystery is speaking. The mystery is having a meeting. The mystery is participating in the meeting and listening. And everything that's apparently happening is this mystery. And there was never a separate thing that had to find something else that was not it already. So everything is an expression of, is an appearance of, is somehow this mysterious essence. And even that's saying too much, because there isn't a thing, there isn't a this. A lot of people say this is it. There is no this, and there is no that. There's no I am that. There is no this is it. There is just there is no thing, and there is no way to know what anything is really, because there's nothing apart from the mystery. Just being everything. And since there are no things, it's just everything is only apparent. Um, so I like one essence appearing as everything. I think that might be a Sailor Bob thing. That's a good way to say it. But like I said, you can't grasp it. No word, it's cliche, but the map is not the territory. Um, there is no perfect expression of this. There is no way to, there's nothing to grab onto. There's no perfect speaker or book or method, because it's always already everything that's happening, or that's appearing to happen. So you can't get out of it, because it's everything being expressed already. So there's no in it, there's no out of it. It's just all that's appearing to happen. And there's nothing that you can do with that information, um, because it's, like I said, everything already, except for if it's seen the way that it was seen here, maybe that seeking energy, that thinking that there's something apart from me, there's something missing, it's not it already, or there's a special guru or teacher, or there's something I need to figure out. Um, maybe that could fall away. But that's just what happened here. That was, like I said, my experience. And that's just kind of how I talk about non-duality. It's just that there's not two. So there's no thing that you can find. There's no this, like I said, and it's everything already. And that's it. So with that, we'll just open it up for any questions, comments. Feel free to jump right in.
I guess you've already said everything, Walter. We're all convinced.
Mm. Well, we were talking just before about non-duality recovery groups. You know, we talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to hear about that. I missed that part because
yeah.
yeah. So
Well, it's just-
yeah, talk to me about that. That'd be
Well, I mean, I don't know about the groups, but it's funny. It just came up in the interview there. Like, I mean, it's obvious how this message can be quite destructive, actually, from talking about it. Like, it just can be. So, I mean, you were talking about a lot of people like Rupert Spira and
Yeah. I think it's just non-duality. I mean, in the circles that we kind of roam in, I think it's the radical message. I mean, I think it's just becoming more topical, and it was so small at one point, and it still is small, relatively speaking, but certainly more people are having these kinds of awakenings, and to the point where I heard Rupert Spira and those kind of teachers having to address comments about it. And I just find it really interesting because, someone like Rupert Spira never talks in this kind of radical manner, and him and a few others have just started to use the word neo-advaita for this time, and having to respond to queries about it. People saying, for example, that is there any point in this teaching, because if there's no one and their reactions are very interesting, and there's a real pushback from a lot of those teachers. And it's not to say they disagree. They don't disagree, and I think they will actually agree, but they disagree in the sense they will say yes, but not everyone is ready, or not everyone who comes to retreat is ready to hear that message quite so directly. So then you'll hear speakers talk about a kind of, subtly leading someone to that understand. If someone's ready to drop, like an apple's about to drop, and they will say something quite radical. And if not, they'll be like, okay, well, kind of, maybe go and do some breath work and stuff like that.
oh, so it's kind of just moving the problem somewhere else. That's what it sounds like to me. Because I think there's a point after the awakening, when you start to look at it like you want your life back, in a real kind of human sense. And it's like, because the message subtly affects you on every level.
Yeah.
Like it is, and it's like my life, this is
Right,
the one
right.
I want back.
Yeah,
My
I see what
soul,
you're saying. Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah. I was talking specifically about the reaction to a neo-advaita with those teachers, but yeah, talking about those recovery groups and things like that. I think
Yeah.
this message. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going from the neo-advaita message to people like Rupert Spira to go, please help me, because I'm losing my mind here, and that's pretty harsh.
Yeah, but I mean, anything like suggestions of breath work or anything like that seems to me like another way of sweeping it under the carpet.
Right.
We do
To
have a
me.
question. Sorry to interrupt, but Omar, go ahead.
Hello, Walter.
Hello,
Yeah.
Omar.
Hey, yeah, I really love this message, and I just wanted to say something about this part. For me, like I've been watching Papaji. If you heard about him, I think he's the most beautiful Indian mystic I ever seen. He's so diverse. So he doesn't speak directly, let's say, too directly. And I feel also he can, see stories like about Krishna or what Radha did or something, and he's just wide. And yeah, he most resonating for me was probably. Sometimes he would say method, like he would say, okay, you know what, like you gotta do inquiry if you want to do it, let's do inquiry, or yeah, anything. Or maybe he comes out with a completely spontaneous inquiry in the moment with somebody, or and it's just the diverse experience, like the spectrum of the human experience is there. And yeah, like for me, like I started the embodiment before the awakening. I just couldn't go directly. I just, the pointers were just leading to like specific levels of like seeing or feeling. And these specific levels are just like oscillating. They just come and go, but it's just frustrating. Like I think I stayed like for a very long time, just pointers. And yeah, it just it's weird when I start to embody it, then the pointers like start to hit directly. It's like they start to hit like the G spot of the brain, like they just go directly where they should go. Yeah, I just felt like that when I just saw Papa the first time. I thought he's boring. Like when I just was like listening to pointers, I saw this guy's very boring. Like these people are so like precise, and when I started like embodying, and then I watched Papaji at the end, like at just after leaving the embodiment, after getting exhausted from it, and then watching Papaji again, like I saw so much beauty in him. Like I felt like his spirit, he was just so vast. And I just didn't. It was so lazy then to hear. And then I became lazy, like in hearing like in doing the embodiment. I just became lazy. I just wanted to hear somebody just take off my head and like that. So that's the opposite direction. Like I couldn't directly via the neo-advaita, like the pointers. I couldn't directly feel it. Yeah. Yeah. This is all I have to share.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Omar.
Yeah.
Funny. I was just sort of thinking of like, that, mountains are mountains, then they're not mountains, then they're mountains again. It's like Papaji's boring. Then you fall in love with Papaji, then he's boring again after awakening. I think it kind of goes like that. That's not too offensive, but
Andy raised his hand. Go ahead, Andy.
Hey guys, and happy new year to you all. Just listening to Omar there and what Hamish was saying earlier about Rupert Spira. So often hear you guys saying that this can't be taught, but yet you're talking about pointers. So what is it? Which one is it?
Good point. Good pointer.
Can't be taught. Well, I mean, certainly can be talked about, but for me, it was a spontaneous, thing that, and I had heard about it before. I had read about it before, and some people will say it's like describing an orange or tasting an orange, but that sounds kind of pretentious, also. But because there's really, it's not like somebody attained anything or but there's no denying that this apparent experience happened, and then there was a different way of seeing things after, and it was just that it's always already this one no thing appearing as everything, and that's it. So it can't be taught. I can just say that, but is that a teaching? I don't know. What am I
But
teaching?
I'm
just talking about what what happened here.
yeah, but if you've been reading about it, Walter, prior to that,
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean it can both be taught and non-taught? They're both true, and they're neither of them are true.
Well, I guess it's just if you learn about it, it's just an intellectual sort of understanding, I guess. It's kind of like the Kundalini. I don't experience that. So when Hamish, when he talks about he's speaking from experience, something that's happening over there, which isn't happening over here. So I listen to him, but I don't, I can listen, I can hear what he's saying, but I can write it all down. I can read about it, but unless it's that energy starts doing its thing in this body, then it's just sort of head knowledge, you know?
Yeah, maybe pointers make it seem sometimes like it's a journey towards, you know, like you're following the finger's pointing that way. Literally, the word pointer. So okay, I'll go that way. It's like, oh, I don't see it over here. There, someone else is pointing that way. But you know, what radicals say is that the pointing is it as well. It's all this, and eventually, I think the questions just fall apart. They just can't. And that's why the non-duality is so frustrating for the seeker, because it just you asking all these questions and nothing's coming back, and it can be incredibly frustrating. It's like your questions just dissolve into emptiness, you know, and yeah.
But none of us are using pointers, actually. You know, we're just kind of talking from experience, really. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm speaking for myself anyway. So
I would agree with that. Yeah, that's why, and I would never call myself a teacher or a speaker, really. I just kind of like to facilitate these conversations, and but the only thing I have to contribute is that there's nothing apart from me that I can seek for, you know. Anyway, Razia has her hand up also. Go ahead.
Hi, Walter, Avish, John, Andy, and the others. Basically, I think that was a very good question, Andy. And what Walter said makes sense, because the basis of non-duality is that, or whatever, it technically means no separation. For teaching to happen, there would have to be two. You know, there will have to be a teacher and a student. But with non-duality, we are saying there's no two, you know? So I don't know, like, I mean, how can it be taught? So basically, I don't know, maybe in a way that we seemingly manifest these teachers into our lives. That's all I can come up with. But maybe, I mean, we can take it from there. If there is no two, I mean, if there's no separation, how can we teach or even learn? You know, who is learning? In the sense, there's no seeker, because that which is seeking does not exist. Is the same as the sought. You know what I mean? At the end, it's like we're saying, it's the treasure looking for the map.
Yeah, but I suppose what a spiritual speaker is doing is they're making there isn't a seeker, but there's an apparent seeker. So they're making a concession to that apparent seeker. They're saying, okay, I know that it's all not true. This person doesn't, on the other hand. So I just hammer him with the radical message, or is there another approach of just kind of teasing this? I don't know. And that's what, as far as I can see, that's what teachers are trying to do. They've perfectly understood this as well, as much as can be understood, but it's just there seems to be a different approach tailored for a different type of seeker on a different apparent spectrum of that apparent path.
yeah, it's all part of the
Amy. Yeah, it's like saying teaching is happening. We cannot deny that teaching is happening. There are sages out there, there are seekers out there, and teaching is happening. But who is it happening to? You know, it's happening to no one.
Yeah, well,
it's happening.
But there's a many in the one. It's the same thing. So there is a teacher. There are teachers teaching something to someone. Okay, ultimately that doesn't exist. But if you deny your reality like that, I mean, you can't get very far. You know, in our normal lives, like this stuff goes on, this stuff happens. It's not like that in the normal lived experience of this. I'm not a teacher, but I'm talking about this, and I exist. So I don't know. Yeah, this stuff can be a bit of a head fuck, really. You know, don't deny your reality, man. There are teachers, there are students, you know, like, and it, you know,
Yes.
it's all
Yeah,
that.
that's
I have
what is
a
happening.
question
Apparently
from
something,
sorry, go
we
ahead.
can only talk to that. Sorry. I said that is only what is happening, and we can only talk to what is happening in the dream. Outside of the dream, denying our
This is all there
existence,
is.
I mean, like John says, makes no sense. You can't go up to people and say, there's no one here. You know, it doesn't make sense. She's
Well,
right.
there is someone here, there's someone here, there's someone there, you know, it's
Yeah.
life is normal. It's time and the timeless. This is reality. This is, you know, to us, this is how we're experiencing life. And it's not to be denied. We do better peril like we do. It's just there's no separation ultimately, which is the beautiful thing about it. So it's experienced differently. And so there's a personal and the impersonal. I think it's just, I mean, it's just it's experienced here, and it's a paradox, and it's beautiful. So,
Yeah.
you know, because otherwise you just be crazy going around denying everything, which a lot of people do.
Yes. So I don't know. What do you think, Andy? Since you brought up the question.
I think it's both. I think it can be taught, and well, I don't know, because I mean I haven't had an awakening yet, so I can only comment from this side of the fence. But it strikes me from listening to non-dual talks, it strikes me that it's both. That doesn't mean to say that they're separate. I think that it's all part of the one experience. It's a bit like if you want to bake a cake, you've got to mix the ingredients up and stick it in the oven, and then when it's ready, when it's cooked, it'll come out, the cake's ready. But the cake's not a cake until it's baked. So there's a process of baking, and then there's the finished product.
But there's eating the cake and not eating the cake. I think that's the distinction. So, and you know, like a teaching, there are interesting things that happen. So there may be someone who teaches, and on a particular word, there may be awakening happen. There's these things that happen as well. So there's spontaneous awakenings that you can't, but sometimes it seems to be triggered by something as well. So it's not like, it can't, you can't, because it's not mine. It can't be taught. Like I think what Walter said about Kundalini is right, because if you hadn't experienced Kundalini, and Andy, I know you have, like, so, when you've experienced it, it's different. You can't be taught Kundalini. You can be taught about it, but you can't, until you experience it, you don't know what it is. If you'd never had a dream, you wouldn't know what someone was talking about, like, you could learn all about a dream. You could, I mean, that's that whole thing of like an orange. You could learn all about an orange, but until you bite into it, you know, you could be taught about an orange, you could be taught from every different angle, but like until you actually bite into it, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then you can't say, well, the taste of an orange. I mean, you describe that. I mean, you know, be comparing it. But this is a thing beyond comparison as well, because how do you compare anything with the experience of going beyond anything and everything, the form and the formless? So it's kind of beyond comparison in a sense, and yet it contains comparison within it. It contains everything within it, all this, me, you, and that. Anyway, there's some non-dual bullshit for you.
I have a question from the live chat on YouTube. Here it is from Jack Saturday. Can anyone listening control what happens to them upon hearing whatever the language is doing?
Can anyone control what's happening upon hearing what the language is doing?
Can anyone listening control what happens to them upon hearing whatever the language is doing?
But is the language doing anything? How can language do something? I mean,
Well,
I'm suggesting that
once it goes into your brain,
but it's as likely to do that as you are to control it, right? There's still, you know, you know, sometimes a kind of magic happens, a weird spark. You can put that down to like causality or not. Like, okay, this is beyond that, fair enough, but can you control? I mean, in a personal level, there's a certain amount of control you can suppress, you can deny, you can, you know, very subtly kind of manipulate your experience, sure. But like, I know what you're saying, like
But no one's doing that manipulating, right? I guess that's the thing. There is apparent manipulation happening.
well, let's say,
Apparent free will, shall we say?
can language do anything? That's an interesting question.
well, language is powerful. It is powerful. Language can open you up, it can shut you down, it can shame you. I mean, people say you're responsible for your own feelings. We'll say that to someone who's being abused. It's kind of out of order, right? Language is, you know, that's our world, or, you know, isn't it? Without language, I mean, we express everything through it. It has impact. It makes us alive when we communicate. So we're relational beings. Without language, become slightly mad, and then very mad. It's like, I don't know. It's like, in this normal, yeah, everyday world, like, yeah, sure, like, language is powerful. I mean, I mean, that's why we have art and stuff like with poetry. We've got, you know, because it has effects. It makes us feel something. It makes us feel more alive when something is written in a certain way or expressed in a certain way. We can feel excited. We can be inspired, or just want to kill ourselves. For the hell, like, you know, like, just, I don't know.
A lot of non-dual
Yeah.
speakers write poetry, I think, on like YouTube and things like that. It seems to be one of the because poetry doesn't make sense. I mean, it's not supposed to make sense. So I think it's sometimes the closest you can get to this message is through poetry. And interestingly enough, a lot of poets had Kundalini and energy. There's always been a connection between Kundalini and poetry, which I find quite interesting. And I certainly write a lot of poetry as well.
Oh yeah, mystical states, and of course they're also associated, yeah, with mood disorders as well. So they're really, really high on that scale too, and they're associated with mystical states. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I think for me, normal non-dual poetry is part, but then I'm not looking for something. It's, yeah, I think after awakening, non-dual poetry for me is kind of keep it away from me. Save me from non-dual poetry.
Razia, do you have your hand up still, I think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, go ahead.
Basically, I think what the speaker is asking is that language seems to be like, okay, let's take affirmations. People believe that certain affirmations open you up. Like, for example, I would say forgiveness. And the word forgiveness seemingly opens people up at your third eye or something like that. And if we take the word satisfaction, you know, certain words, you say them and they seemingly have an impact on your subtle system, you know. Then we have to look at words also as first, like Jesus, like if we go back to the Bible, first there was the word, then the word was with God, and the word was made flesh, you know, meaning that we human are actually God. So, and words, technically, I mean, words shape the whole world. If you look at everything that is brought into existence, is because of words, you know. If I say the word cheer, each of us has something in their mind about cheer, you know. And then it shows us how we perceive the world. Because for me, cheer is comfort, right? For another person, someone could have hit him with a chair. So when you bring up the word share, it brings up this image up, you know? So it has an effect like that. Maybe that's what he means. I don't know. I'm trying to.
I don't know. I thought the questioner was asking whether there is someone in the body that whether it's a sense of self that is responding to, that has the choice to respond to the word. But I might have misunderstood the question. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I do agree that words can be very, very powerful.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I love Shakespeare and things like that. When you listen to, because they have an energy behind them, a passion behind them. When I listen to Anthony Hopkins speaking Shakespeare, there's an energy there, there's a passion, there's a presence, and I think that can tingle your Kundalini energy as well. I'm sure a lot of actors have that.
Okay, but Hamish,
I
even
think,
if we talk about Kundalini, I did have a Kundalini awakening.
Oh, did you?
But all I could say was there is no doership with Kundalini.
Right. No.
There's no one that does.
No.
Because you get to the stage where you understand that everything is happening without you even being there, you know?
Right.
I mean, like, you're not doing a thing, but things are happening. That's how it is with Kundalini.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, yeah. So when people say, oh, non-duality, and then they distinguish between Kundalini and non-duality, I can't see the difference.
Okay.
Can you?
Well, I mean, when I'm going through movement, it's very obvious that I'm not doing it. And then at other times, I guess it feels like there's a volition there. For example, I will pick up this glass and drink it. It feels like I did that, even though on some level it's kind of been seen that there is no self. On some level, that kind of filter went away. But if I just go, it's very obvious I ain't doing any of that shit, that's for sure. So there's some sort of distinction still happening there. But yeah, maybe everything's a kriya on some level. Maybe picking that was a kriya, that was a spontaneous movement, and every word that comes out is the same, you know. And whether there's a sense of someone holding on to all this and going, me, it's mine or not, maybe it makes no difference.
Yeah, I think that's what the question was about.
Oh, okay.
Was, can anyone listening control what happens to them upon hearing whatever the language is doing? So I think it's more about, the listener. Do they have any control over how the words affect them?
Well, on a subtle, sorry.
No, that's how we are changed and affected by language, or the language of others, or even our own language, inner dialogue. Yeah.
But if we're like, the more self-aware you are, you can reflect. I mean, some people who you're not traumatized, or you're very self-aware, you've got the ability to reflect, not just react to something. So to a sense, in a kind of real human sense, some people have more control over how they react to something than other people. So there is that on this level. Ultimately, it's all one, but to speak in terms of that, you lose out in actually reality, what's actually going on for an individual as well. So I mean, I think you need to kind of sort of like, yeah, some people have absolutely no control. The words will come in and blah 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 come out, like, and other more evolved it's not quite, I don't know, like, it's common sense, isn't it? I mean, I don't want that to be a casualty of non-duality, but sometimes it is, like,
Well, yeah, whether you have control or you don't have control, it's not within your control.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you pause and, reflect a little bit before you respond and have that ability, that's a skill not everyone has. But is that within their control, whether they have that skill or not?
you can develop it to some extent, can't you?
You
Like
can what? Develop it?
You can,
Yeah.
some of us, I mean, most people can to some extent, doing, if it's trauma, you can work through that to some extent. You may not be able to completely clear it, but we can become better at that. There are certain things we can do, Mum was
Well, I think it's just like making a case or not for free will. So,
I know.
which is not. I don't want to get into that whole thing. So,
no,
I
I know what
actually
it is.
have other questions we can go to from YouTube to avoid that. Is anything ever not a reaction? If reactions or one who reacts exists, that is. I'm not sure what that means, but either one of you want to.
Could you read it again, Walter?
Is anything ever not a reaction? If reactions or one who reacts exists, that is.
Well, in the sense in which it's said, I mean, again, that's going back to free will or something like reaction is or non-reaction. I mean, it's not a reaction just because it's nobody there doing it. It doesn't make it a reaction or non-reaction. You know, like it's just semantics there. Like it's just I don't know. The question doesn't make a lot of sense, but. So it's not reaction implies or someone who's reacting. If you're implying that there's no one there, that's so it's the wrong. Doesn't make sense. The question, don't you think?
And we have another question. Does the past exist if you don't think about it?
You might be experiencing it. You might be like, there's an existing right there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think about the past a lot because, I mean, the past appears, well, yeah, like you said, it's in the body, isn't it? I mean, part of what Kundalini's job is getting traumas out of the body. So I suppose it lives on in that sense. But no, I think when you're right, if you're not thinking about it at all, it doesn't appear. And when it appears as imagery. And I get confused about the time all the time because it's like, well, if your past is an image, how could that cause this? How can an image have caused what's happening here? And Watts used to talk about that. He used to say the past is much more like the wake of a ship. So the wake of a ship isn't actually pushing the ship along. It's just the trail that's coming out from this already. That's just all conceptual stuff, though. I don't really understand any of that, but I think about it a lot.
But the past is also in your movements. It's in your words. It's in how you react. It's how you walk. It's
by how you talk, the language you speak, I suppose. Yeah.
It's all bubbling up all the time in that sense, and also even without thought, it's there in some sense. I mean, it's because no mind does not mean the end of the conceptual world. It can do in some cases, and in awakenings, it can completely trash that where you don't know what the hell anything is. I think that's what happened to UG Krishnamurti, and I had it over a champagne glass and a plate of whatever it was, rockin' food. But like,
Wow.
aside from that, but yeah, I mean, I'm not. I like my past. I mean, I don't like it. Some of it's horrific. Like some of our past horrific, but it's good because that's that's where the healing is. Memory is where you heal from. Without that, and not just that, but memory is cool. So it's all. I think unless you're really traumatized, in which case you probably. If you're getting flashbacks and stuff, it's probably really painful. But again, that's in the body, isn't it? And in the Kundalini, what sparks that off? Because, I mean, do you think nothing sparks it? I know nothing can cause the Kundalini, but it does seem that.
For me, it would just seem to be relaxation. I was listening to the radical message, and that was making me feel peaceful. The seeking seemed to be automatically coming to an end. At the same time, I was doing very physical stuff, and like yoga, there's always been a connection between Kundalini and yoga. So I just felt really chilled out, but at the same time, I was pushing with the yoga. I was pushing probably harder physically than I'd ever pushed before. So I was kind of like, the seeking energy was falling away, but I suppose counterintuitively, the body was pushing. So I don't know, maybe something to do with that, maybe.
I think Gopi
Because
Krishna
it's a
said,
sexual thing, it's a survival thing. It's like it's an active energy, right? So activity seems to go hand in hand with it. Like at the moment, I've got so much energy, I don't know what to do with it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think Kobe Krishna said that a lot of people who had Kundalini awakenings, it was associated in his mind with really high desire, like higher than normal kind of desire.
Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think so. I think yeah, that makes sense. Very high desire, particularly sexual desire.
Yeah, I think that's what he was.
Turns itself inwards, and if that's very strong, it just has the power to kind of. I feel at the moment like I'm just, pardon my French, jizzing into my own brain, essentially. Because also I got a few cues recently from different places to try like semen retention, which is a yoga practice, was not releasing the energy that way. And holy shit, I did that for about 3 weeks, and I've just been lying on the floor screaming and bashing at my head with my hands and doing all sorts of just going ah. So and then yesterday in the night, I basically the energy did come out down there, but I didn't instigate it. The Kundalini did, because I guess it thought the energy was too strong. So
Okay, yeah.
Under the pressure a little bit. So yeah, it's only recently come to the forefront how much it is a sexual thing. I always heard it was a sexual energy, but it's becoming more and more obvious that it's a sexual thing. 100%.
Yeah, and it definitely seems to rise when there's, no sexual activity. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about that. I don't know if there's any stats on it or anything, but for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting, the Kundalini trying to get your equilibrium back.
Yeah. I was grateful for it because I was really trying. I was like, I'm hanging in there. I'm not going to give in. But in the end, it did it for me. I was pretty grateful. I felt like if a woman touched me, I was going to explode.
Oh.
I have a few questions here. I don't know if this is not a question, but he says, this is Robbie, I think it's Robbie. I just find this endlessly confusing, whereas how Tony Parsons, Andreas Mueller, and Jim Newman present non-duality is clear as a bell for me.
There's no meaning.
I think we've answered your question.
Okay. Somebody else says, this is Sailor Bob is likened this to a sleeping dream. He says it's very much like a dream, but the illusion of continuity. Do you agree with this?
Sort of. Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. I think continuity is that maybe the appearance of continuity seems to be in some ways what messes people up, because if the way the appearance was presenting itself was that there was a unicorn and that disappeared and there was a bear and then a baby and then a chair, you'd go like, well, this is just all clearly what's appearing to happen, but it's because of this apparent continuity and the remembrance of the past and the hopes of the future, I think, it creates maybe that sense of need in the first place. Talking about Jim Newman, I think it was Jim Newman who has this theory about the child getting confused. I'm gonna butcher this, but something about when the child has a toy, when it's a certain age, it drops it. It doesn't care. It doesn't need that toy again. The toy rolls under the sofa, and it's not aware that. And at some point, cognitive, you realize, no, I know where that ball is, and I need to get it back. Something like that. I've totally butchered that, but anyway, something.
Yeah. That's it. It disappears out of existence.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think I do have some sense of continuity. Yeah, I mean,
No, me too.
I mean, like there's like, I think everyone can relate to, like, if you're away or you're staying somewhere else, because I'm living in two places at the minute, and there's this one life and it seems very separate from the other life, and like there's things like that, but I think anyone can relate to that, like, but generally I think, yeah, because without that it'd be just very chaotic, I think. But it's not something I think about, to be honest. First time I'm really thinking about that. It's not like, no, whoa. Yeah.
Bill Clark wants to know your thoughts on celibacy. And yes, semen retention wants to know more about what kind of realization is possible if you practice.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been doing, and all I can really say is that, like I was saying before, Kundalini is the sexual energy making its way the other direction, spinning around on itself somehow. And I think when women have orgasms, there must be subtly aware of that, because I think a women's orgasm typically is very different from a male's. Is very much centered in that area, generally speaking, and a women, I think they do have these kind of more exotic experiences, and I think that is to do with some energy going in that direction. So semen retention, just it's an interesting practice to do. It's tough, not easy, but then yes, some interesting things might happen. It might change the energy in the body. In the same way that eating less might, if you're having 3 big meals a day, you kind of feel bull or sluggish. I'm trying to cut down to 1 or eating less, and then suddenly I have more energy. I think it's the same with semen retention, except if you have strong Kundalini already and then you do it, holy shit, there's no, it can get pretty crazy pretty quickly. Yeah. So celibacy, I don't know celibacy. I don't know. I mean, I've been listening to podcasts recently, and maybe the questioner has as well, talking about it's not a good idea to go sleeping, or specifically for talking about life force energy, that it's, in order to maintain it and keep it active and keep it strong, going having sex with people left, right, and center is not a good idea. But if you're in love with someone and that passion is strong, what you're doing, you're cultivating the sexual energy. So when you have like tantric sex, the sexual energy is rising, and you can use it, you can cultivate it to go upwards and open up dormant parts of the brain, instead of what you normally do, which is just release it in the other direction. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, so a lot of that stuff is what I've been thinking about at the moment. It's coming up a lot.
It might just produce anger.
Yeah, it does. In some people, it does. They get really frustrated. Yeah, it does. Anger, frustration, yeah.
Well, we have a comment in the chat about this. It says, I practice semen retention, have done for the last 9 months, and it definitely gives a lot of power and peace. A lot of spiritual texts talk about retaining.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot more mental clarity as well. More energy, more mental clarity. But yeah, like you're saying, Don, it's not for everyone, and some people it's just not for them. And
yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily good for your equilibrium, so I'd be cautious about anything extreme like that. Sure, experiment, do what you want, but like, it doesn't, I mean, because you're not your average case, are you? I mean, it's active in you, and experimenting with it. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
I only did it because it came around. It came, it was getting different cues from. It seemed like it was a timing thing. So almost like kind of happening by itself almost.
yeah.
But whether I'd recommend it, I
yeah. And if you're in a relationship, of course, that there's 2 people. Just saying. Oh yeah.
But I think that's what tantra is. If there is two people, supposedly you're supposed to satisfy your woman without actually getting to that point yourself, and that's the kind of game that people can play if they're interested and try that. And yeah, there might be some energetic effects.
Anybody else have a question or a comment?
We've all got sex on the brain now.
No, we don't. Just I have nothing in the brain. I was just like thinking something. No, I actually did. It was like somebody asked a
All
question.
right, we have a question. Does this energy have a positive effect on an apparent trauma?
Yeah. I mean, it can it can bring the traumas to light if they're not. Obviously, some traumas are, you know, completely hidden, and they can come up, and they can be dealt with or repressed. And the energy is, I think that is what the energy is trying to do. It's trying to deal with knots in the body and traumas. And sometimes certain knots and areas of tightness will be directly linked to a trauma, and as it loosens one, you might get imagery or repressed memories and things like that. So yeah.
Okay, we have a question. Is Kundalini tied in with awakening?
Yeah, sorry, I'm taking all these Kundalini questions, Dawn, but feel free to jump in. Yeah, it seems to come about around the time of awakening, either before or after. They say that it's the energetics of awakening. So awakening happens, the body relaxes, and then curious phenomena like Kundalini happen to a greater or lesser extent, it seems.
Yeah, it seems to have that same kind of inner intensity, that real kind of peaceful intensity, doesn't it? Those experiences, I think that the awakening has. Yeah, you can see it's the same energy, but it was always put across as that was part of the Kundalini move up, and then in the Sahasrara chakra, once it got to there, it'd be Shakti and Shiva, the merging, awakening. But yeah, it doesn't function like that at all. People, like I got it at the time, and I got it afterwards, 5 years afterwards. No, 20, no, 7 years afterwards. So yeah, it can happen any which way. But yeah, you're right. I totally agree with it. Like in your experience, I don't know, but for mine, definitely I could see unconscious stuff came to light. And it's in the books as well. So I think there is something to that. But some people get stuck as well, and the trauma is just aggravated. So, you know, but I don't know how common that is. And you know, with me, it wasn't. It was just seen. It was just like, oh my God, really? Like, yeah, have you had revelations through it? Like just like your life and stuff?
Do you know what? Not that many, to be honest. I think. No. I mean, at the beginning, it was all. I mean, the Kriya were ongoing from the start, but it was just loads of crying, just nights spent just. But I don't know why. Just mourning the loss of that parent self or something like that. And now the emotional aspect seems to have gone, and it's just purely physical. But but physical, like thumping at my head, the energy trying to go up and up and up and up, and it's like preparing to, is getting everything. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's very super physical. So not much emotion involved at all.
Whoa, so it's really shifted.
Yeah, it's ramped up for sure. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And super fast hand movements, like, and it used to be, now if I lie on the floor now, it's just like it's just ongoing.
And like mudras, like
Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah, super fast, super quick mudras, all sorts. And just like electricity, like if my fingers touch, it kind of goes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's full on.
It's been ages now. That's been full on, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's ramping up. That's the thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite exhausting. And sometimes it's quite entertaining a lot of the time, you know, you just lie there and a lot of it feels good, you know, and it's fixing your body, so it's great. But then the last couple I did, I was on the floor, I was like, this get like screaming, lying on the floor, going ah in different intonations.
Oh, right, okay.
Ah! Stuff like that. like my whole body spasming, you know. Yeah, the pressure cooker.
Yeah, because it was loud enough, I remember.
Yeah, no, now it's a whole other level, other level now. Yeah.
Does it interrupt your sleep then, or not? Is it leaving you alone during sleep?
Not usually, not if I do it enough during the day. It tends to, like, I will move around, but it's very responsive now to suggestion and things like that. So if I just say, can you put me in the best position for sleeping in, it will just kind of rearrange me to the best position. Like it's sort of like always there now. Like it's not as in the past you had to summon it and talk with it, and it's more present in the system, it feels. That's pretty crazy.
We have a question about astral projection.
I'll let you take this one, Don, because that's not something I know much about. I've never experienced it.
Out of the body experiences, anything about that?
Well, I get those, I suppose, quite regularly. I don't know, what's the question about? I mean, just that.
Well, the question, Kingdale Clark says, your thoughts on astral projection, aka out of the body expression. Is there one here? And if there's no one here and no free will, do they lose their meaning? So do those experiences lose their meaning? And are they even real, or are they like some sort of dream? That's the question.
No, I mean, for me, so they lose their meaning. I don't know what that means. There's, you know, like
there's nobody astral projecting. Projecting.
I know.
Then does it lose its meaning if there's nobody doing that?
Well, there's nobody if there's nobody doing anything, why should that be any different? Because it does seem like, okay, so it seems as real as this, if not more, well, not more, but it seems as real as this to me. And yes, there is a curiosity about it massively, like, well, so especially the ones that seem to be different dimensions, different beings and stuff like that. So it's like, well, it makes me rethink, because I sort of thought, well, there's just this kind of earthly domain. Now I sort of think, well, this is multi-dimensional. So yeah, it's very exciting. I think, yeah, it does make me think. Also kind of a link, because people have out-of-body experience before they go to near-death experience. It's preceded by out-of-body experience, and so it does kind of tie in with that whole ideas around death, because to me, I don't see how death exists. So obviously I wouldn't know that, but and what this is, and because it seems quite obvious there are other realities here. When you experience that, so it's, yeah, the meaning, I don't know, it's just very exciting. And yeah, so in a sense, try to, yeah, there is a kind of trying to understand that or make sense of that in some way. For certainly here there is, but it makes no difference. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, but astral project, yeah, that term, it's, I don't like that term, but it's scary as well, because you sort of think, well, some of my own experience has been pretty dark, and navigating those kind of realms, just especially if you're dead and not coming back anytime soon, maybe.
We had a comment here in the chat. Is there anyone who actually knows anything? It just seems like talking for the sake of talking.
I don't know anything for sure. So I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows anything, but I mean, talking for the sake of talking, it makes it sound like, well, we might as well. I mean, it's a bit better than that. I don't know. I find this kind of fun and interesting and inspiring. So for the sake of it, I you know, like, I don't know, maybe, whatever, like, I quite like doing this, so.
It won't fulfill your deepest desires, but it is quite entertaining, hopefully. I mean, there's 8 people here, so maybe not that entertaining.
But maybe it's more entertaining to us than everybody watching. I
Us.
don't
They will
know.
just- yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. I guess there's no purpose to this meeting.
No.
Is there any sense in a separate self, and how much do you think about life stuff?
Well, the separate self.
Sense.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you take it.
No, the separate self. Shit, I forgot. Oh crap. Oh shit. What was it?
It's in the chat and the. Do you have access to that in the Zoom chat?
Yeah.
You can read all the questions actually.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Is there any sense of how much do you think about life stuff? Two sort of separate questions. Is there still any? Oh, is there still any sense in a separate self? Well, I think separate self is looking for sense, looking for logic to feel complete, to feel whole, feel fulfilled. That's kind of its job as it sees it, I suppose. But there's no sense in its appearance, I don't think. Ultimately, how much do you think about life stuff? I think about life stuff all the time. Especially Kundalini. I can't stop thinking about life stuff right now with this fucking mark on my head. It's all I think about.
I'll just say there's no sense of a separate self or not a separate self. It's just life is just happening, naturally, spontaneously, and good times, bad times, all that. It's just very, very ordinary and natural and normal, and but yeah, I don't think about being separate or not being separate, or like that seeking kind of stuff fell away. And I do have fun talking about this and doing these meetings, and even though they have no meaning or purpose, so we're just talking for the sake of talking, and it's just fun and hanging out with friends. But so yeah, I it's not a serious, it's not a heavy thing that weighs on me anymore. It's stuff about separate self, no self, free will, all this stuff. It's
Do you
just
think
for
about life stuff though? Do you?
life stuff. What does that mean? Life stuff, like
Problems, I guess, isn't it?
Just, yeah, day-to-day normal stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But not, the deep meaning of life questions.
Oh, really? I do think
Yeah.
about those.
Me
I'm
too.
a bit of a dreamer. I think I've always been able to kind of, you know, not really think too much about life stuff. That's why I've ended up in such a mess. Like, because I was one of those people who kind of just live for the week, like,
Yeah.
and some people are like that, and it's got nothing to do with awakening, but I'd always find something to fill my head with, that was just a bit more exciting than, not, I don't know. I think I ruminated a lot as well when I was really struggling, sort of just before awakening, and there's a lot of fear, and, shallow breathing, and so there probably was more of that than I remember, to be honest. Probably a lot of it, actually. So maybe there wasn't so much. I think I skipped more as a kid, just reading stuff and, but yeah, life stuff. Yeah, I think I thought too much. I don't know, thought too much about that. I think torture in my it's always bad, isn't it? You dip into that. Everybody's got their thing that they can't square the circle on, don't they? Life is just like that. You got some shit that will never ever be resolved, or something, and then suddenly it disappears, something else happens, I don't know, then some other shit. That's the way it goes forever.
Any other questions or comments? We got about 10 minutes left. Thanks. I enjoy the talking for the sake of talking. That's what Ben said.
Is it okay?
Thank you, Ben.
Talking. What does that even mean, though? It does. I suppose that makes me think of like having a cup of tea is as good as anything else, which isn't entirely true. Really.
Well, I guess the question could be, is there an objective or
Right.
is there an intention? Is there any intention to this meeting or what we're saying?
Well,
It kind of reminds me of being a kid in school, you're like, sir, what's the point of all this? When we're never going to use this. I always used to ask that question. Oh, do we actually have to learn this? We're never going to use it. Duality is a little bit like that, so you don't need it.
At least you knew. I didn't know. I think I suckered it. I think I was much useful.
I was
Must
too
be
lazy.
useful. I don't know. Yeah. Were you a nightmare at school then? Were you always like challenging with like deep existential questions?
Oh no, not at all, not at all. I mean, I was a bit of a dick when I was young. If the teacher wasn't very strict, I would kind of dick around a lot. I was a bit of a class clown and get sent out. If they were strict, I was too scared to do that. But then later, as I grew older, I was just got lazy. I was just overwhelmed by schoolwork, and I just kind of stopped listening. I was very ADD. I couldn't really listen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Really,
Yeah. It's horrible.
Anita says, I love the energy. Thanks, Anita.
Yeah, cool. Mm. You get any visual stuff? Mm,
Me?
or yeah.
No, it's pretty intense dreams and things, but no, it's a lot of energy going up here, but not visual, just feeling it
The
physically.
dreams, like just really intense colors and stuff like that,
Yeah,
or
just vivid, more vivid than before.
interesting, like there's something in there for you, or like you,
A bit mad, yeah. Kind of Kundalini based, trying to like I'm trying to understand the process in my dream or something like that.
okay, yeah. Cool.
Like talking to people in my dream who are like more advanced or something, and they're telling me stuff.
Like kind of guides sort of thing, or
Yeah, sort of, yeah, something like that.
cool.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was flying. It was flying in my dream last night.
Oh,
Like
are you?
I felt like I was really flying. I can't remember what that means. Sort of Freud.
Was it beautiful, like skyscapes and stuff like that, or
No, it was really intense. It was like, oh fuck, I'm flying. This is crazy. Like,
is it fast or just normal
yeah,
kind of?
I was on the floor and I just went into the sky like a rocket.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
okay.
oh shit, yeah. But yeah,
I experienced those speeds more recently, like just like going like a bullet, like
oh really, yeah.
yeah, out of the not just, but in dreams as well as out of the body stuff. And I don't think I used to get that so much,
Right.
but it is weird. It's different. Just yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
freaky, really. Mm.
Well, let's see. Is there any more? I don't think there's any more questions here in the chat. Sadness is coming up, somebody said.
Okay.
I don't know.
I wonder why.
I have a question here. It says, what advice would you give someone suffering unwanted, intrusive thoughts?
That's probably CBD, CBT. Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy is probably quite good with that. I wouldn't know what to do with intrusive thoughts. I think it can be quite OCD-ish. So I'm not sure exactly. It's not something I've ever had either. So I don't know.
Yeah, if they're repeated, I don't know. So I mean, I'm tempted to say sort of allow them rather than try to fight them or push them away.
Yeah, they can be quite extreme, can't they? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
really restrict your life. So yeah, it depends on the severity as well. So yeah, it's not enough to go on with that either. Like, but you know, I would definitely do something about it. As in seek some sort of help, because it's probably restricting your life in some ways. That's really painful stuff. And obviously it's trauma stuff too. So
I have a question. It says, do you think non-duality would help mental health disorders like intrusive thoughts or thought broadcasting?
I don't know. I mean, I have a friend who's got. I'm not saying that the questioner has OCD, but certainly, yeah, like Dawn was saying, with all the I have a friend who has severe OCD, and I think he takes medication and things like that. And I tried approaching him with, he's like my best mate, and I tried talking to him once about non-duality, but I don't know if there's the sort of thing you want to put on someone who's going through something dark or struggling with intrusive. I don't know instinctively. I wouldn't say, have you tried non-duality? Because if anything, it's more likely to destabilize the person than sort out their problems, basically, because it can be misconstrued and seen as nihilistic. And
Well, it's not a treatment, is it?
No.
Go get some professional help.
It's not the answer here. Yeah, it's not the answer.
Yeah, they're two separate things, like they are. So I would find someone to talk to, someone who knows a bit about that, for sure. Yeah.
Anita says there can be seen that thoughts are empty.
What are they empty of?
Well, they're not referring to a thinker.
What I have a thought is referring to. I like to think that when I get thoughts, they're my thoughts.
No, but I think they can become, what's the word? Continuous like that when they're about. That's a self. When that drops away, they sort of, for me, for here anyway, that it was kind of the thoughts would just appear, whatever the content is, kind of became irrelevant when that sense of self dropped away. Not irrelevant, but they didn't stick as much. They lose their stickiness. They lose their
I think some do, some don't.
weightedness.
Well, for me, some do and some don't, and it just depends on the context. I was actually talking about this earlier, and it's not. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a. I think people experience this differently as well, don't they? Because some people get no thought whatsoever, and then some people get less or more of it, don't they? So, and if there's trauma there, you're going to get more, and it's probably going to hurt like hell, because an emotional flashback is really, really intense feeling, and it's probably going to have thoughts attached to that as well. So, I don't know. But it doesn't mean like non-duality doesn't mean don't take yourself seriously, because that's a recipe for disaster. That is. I did that most of my life, and then I thought one day, well, maybe I can take myself seriously for once in a while, actually. Yeah. Like, yeah. Not all the time, obviously, that'd be boring. It's 9:30 now. Walter's
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I really appreciate everyone being here today. Is there anything you guys want to plug before we go?
No, not at the moment. No.
Yeah, I do. But I've got a non-duality meeting at the Philadelphia Association in London, in Hampstead, on the 19th of this month. So Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, so costs £10, pay at the door. It's on the meetup if you want to come. That's it. What about you, Walter? Any plug your own?
Just pretty much every Monday have something going on, different meetings I'm hosting on this channel. The times change, but I have a group called Chatting on Duality. It's on Facebook. So I update, let everyone know when these meetings are happening. So that's about it. Yeah, I forget who's next week, but let's see. maybe I'll look. We have a minute, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Kelly Spencer is 12 o'clock noon time, my time, Eastern Standard Time. Kelly Spencer will be next week. Then the week after that, we got Richard Sylvester. And the week after that, we got Jessica Nathanson. And there you go. So there's a few. And then I think we got Howard Chance. So lots happening, lots of different speakers and good stuff for everybody. And it's free and it's fun.
Sounds great. I'm sold.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll see you all soon.
Cheers, Walter.
And we'll be in touch to book the next one, but I have to run. But we'll all email or whatever. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is a monthly meeting for everybody who doesn't know. So if you want to come to this again, we'll see you next month. All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Goodbye.
you.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.